Morgan Freeman, a man known for his distinctive voice, is one of the black actors who helped lay the foundation for today's Hollywood actors, especially black actors. He has played God, narrated historic dramas, and delivered some of the most iconic performances ever.
He's so believable. We had a scene in Unforgiven where he had me tied to.
For a legendary man like him, Freeman loves to give credit where credit is due. Over the years, he has openly shared the names of actors whom he admires and the ones who inspired him.
He was there to show me that
these are not just casual compliments, they are deeply rooted credits to performers he genuinely admires. Here are 6 actors Morgan Freeman loves the most. Starting at number 6, we have Denzel Washington.
What I actually said to Denzel was,
Morgan Freeman isn't one to hand out praise lightly, but when it comes to Denzel Washington, he speaks with real admiration and a touch of longing. He called Denzel one of the few actors who managed to do exactly what he previously dreamt of doing, which was taking on powerful and leading roles that weren't always available to black actors back in his time. It's not jealousy, it's respect. Freeman has been open about how much he looks up to Washington's career, calling it bold, versatile, and deeply inspiring.
he could take his role and sort of just shift sideways a little bit.
In a 2023 interview with the Sunday Times, Freeman got frank. He said, "I'm so very envious of Denzel's career because he's doing what I wanted to do." That one line says a lot, not just about how much he admires Washington's reach in the industry, but how different things were when Freeman was coming up. Back then, he was often boxed into background roles. There weren't many chances to be the leading man or take on morally complex characters. Denzel, on the other hand, has played everything from corrupt cops and lawyers to kings and warriors. That freedom is something Freeman didn't always have access to in his early years.
I think you have a bright career ahead of you.
The pair's relationship goes way back to 1989, when they both starred in Glory, the Civil War film that gave Washington his first Oscar award. Freeman played Sergeant Major John Rawlins, and Washington took on the role of Trip, a former slave-turned-soldier. It was a powerful pairing, and their chemistry on screen was undeniable. That project was the beginning of a long-lasting friendship between the two actors.
He's making contact with you.
Freeman's admiration goes deeper than just the roles Denzel has played. At the 2019 AFI Life Achievement Award honoring Washington, Freeman stood on stage and delivered one of the most heartwarming tributes of the night.
Denzel, my dear friend, congratulations.
This admiration is not one-sided, because Denzel has also given accolades to Freeman for paving the way for black actors to thrive in the industry. The two have shared decades in Hollywood, but more importantly, they've shared a kind of unspoken bondone built on mutual respect, shared history, and a deep love for the art of cinema.
I'm proud to know you and proud to honor you.
But enough talk about Denzel. Let's move on to number 5, Gene Hackman.
Well, it's a zoo, yes, it's a madness. It's kind of fun. I would love to be a little mouse.
When Morgan Freeman talks about Gene Hackman, there's a softness in his voice that usually isn't there. And it's not just admiration, it's the kind of respect that only comes from years of shared experience and genuine friendship. So when Freeman stood on stage at the 2025 Oscars and delivered an emotional tribute to Hackman, it wasn't just a farewell to a legendary actor. It was farewell to his good old buddy. He began with a simple but powerful line. "This week, our community lost a giant. And I lost a dear friend, Gene Hackman." Freeman's voice cracked, his eyes filled with emotions, and for a moment, the entire room went still. This was the kind of tribute you can't rehearse, because it comes straight from the heart.
And I lost a dear friend, Gene Hackman.
Freeman and Hackman had worked together twice, but Unforgiven, which was in 1992, was their most memorable time working together. Directed by Clint Eastwood, the film brought 3 powerhouses Freeman, Eastwood, and Hackman into the same space, and something mind-blowing happened. Hackman's performance as Little Bill Daggett was chilling, intense, and ultimately Oscar-winning. Freeman played Ned Logan, a role that gave him space to match Hackman's energy in the movie. That film bonded them not just professionally, family, but on a deeper level. What made their friendship special wasn't just what happened on set, it was how grounded Hackman remained off camera. He officially retired from Hollywood in 2004, retiring quietly without much noise. Freeman always respected that. In his Oscars speech, he mentioned how Hackman never cared about legacy or headline sheet, just wanted to do good work. And then he paused, looked out at the audience, and said, "I think I speak for all of us when I say, Gene, you will be remembered for that and for so much more."
You will be remembered for that and for so much more.
The moment was raw. It was a friend honoring another. Clint Eastwood later shared a brief statement calling Hackman one of the all-time greats, and Nathan Lane said he never hit a false note. But it was Freeman's tribute that really stuck with people because you could feel the loss in his voice and his entire demeanor. Morgan Freeman not only admired Gene Hackman's work as an actor, but also as a person. Someone who carried his talent with humility, who gave without asking for credit, and who left behind a legacy not just in film, but in the hearts of those who were lucky enough to meet him. Now, it's time to have a look at the next actor, who is none other than number 4, Jack Nicholson.
You know, I liked him a lot when I saw him.
Freeman has worked with so many actors, but when it comes to Jack Nicholson, his admiration is over the top. According to him, Nicholson has been one of his idols ever since he watched his performance in 5 Easy Pieces. Although they had known each other for quite a while, it wasn't until 2007 that they finally worked together on a mind-blowing movie called The Bucket List. The movie is about 2 terminally ill men on a road trip to complete their life goals. For him, this was a dream come true, and truly, it was because he later admitted that working with Nicholson was something he'd wanted for decades, literally among the top 10 on his bucket list.
He's been on my bucket list for
During a podcast session, he recalled how he jokingly told Nicholson that he would trade his left testicle just to get a chance to work together. But he didn't have to do that after all, because when Nicholson read the script, he loved it and agreed, making the fantasy become reality.
We were smart enough to get Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman before we went into the studio.
According to Rob Reiner, the director of the movie Bucket List, he says that getting Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson was the best decision they made. He went ahead to say that, as a director, it makes your life a lot easier when you've got the best 2 actors in the world. Because of the likeness Morgan has for Nicholson, shooting the movie was very quick because they were in sync, and all it took was 1 or 2 shots to do a scene. It wasn't just on set that they matched each other's energy, even off-setting when the cameras were not rolling. On the Warner Brothers plane, Freeman told Nicholson how much he admired him, and Nicholson reciprocated. They even briefly discussed a sequel to The Last Detail, which never worked out. Yet when they finally shared the screen, Freeman said every day felt magical, calling Nicholson a marvel to work with, and noting how seriously Nicholson approached a script and character, playing with dialogue until it was perfect.
he's a funny man. Yeah, he can.
Freeman's admiration for Nicholson isn't just rooted in one film or one role, it's about what Jack represents to him. To Freeman, Nicholson embodies fearless acting. He's someone who never played it safe, who brought an unpredictable energy to every character. Whether it was in the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or The Shining, Jack always took risks, and that's something Freeman deeply respects. He's even said that Nicholson's ability to be both wild and completely in control made him one of the most thrilling actors to ever do it. Their time on the bucket list wasn't just a job for Freeman, it was a milestone. It brought him full circle, from the young actor watching 5 Easy Pieces in awe to standing in the same room with the man who inspired him. Even years later, Freeman still lights up when talking about Jack. There's no competition in his voice, just pure admiration for an actor who changed the game, and for a friendship that blossomed through a long overdue collaboration. Moving on, at number 3, we have Anthony Hopkins.
It's quite an experience. You can't believe that he does the things that...
When Freeman calls someone his hero, just know that it was truly earned, and that's exactly how he describes Anthony Hopkins. Freeman has never hidden away from calling Hopkins one of the greatest actors of all time, but his admiration isn't based on awards or popularity, it's about the way Hopkins completely transforms a scene without ever raising his voice. To Freeman, that kind of stillness is more powerful than any monologue. He first became fascinated by Hopkins after watching The Remains of the Day. It wasn't a flashy performance, But that's what struck him most. Hopkins could say everything with a glance, a pause, a slight shift in posture. That quiet mastery left a deep impression on Freeman, who often emphasizes the importance of finding stillness in life. He's even said directly to Hopkins that the performance gave him one of the most important lessons in acting. Their professional connection deepened in Amistad, which aired in 1997, where Hopkins played John Quincy Adams and Freeman portrayed abolitionist Theodore Jodson. Working side by side, Freeman saw firsthand how Hopkins brought minimalism and precision into each scene. He said, "He is the absolute master of minimalist work. He does it all without seeming to do anything." For Freeman, Hopkins' approach represented a great philosophy, neither following overly method-driven performances nor endless takes. They both prioritize clear communication over showy displays. Hopkins once remarked that actors don't need to yell, or else it would trigger their nervous system and disrupt their performances. That idea resonated deeply with Freeman, who believes real power lies in the quiet moments. When Freeman reflects on great actors, it's Hopkins that always comes to mind. He admires not only the way Hopkins immerses into roles, but the restraint it takes to let a moment breathe. That's what Freeman tries to channel in his work, and why he continues to refer to Hopkins as an absolute master of minimalistic work. There's something personal in that admiration too. These aren't distant icons, they've worked together, shared scenes, shared silences. Hopkins, in a way, validated Freeman's approach to acting. Thoughtful, measured, and deeply human. Now, let's have a look at number 2, Michael Caine.
Yeah, and it gave me a big lesson
When it comes to Michael, Freeman is very fond of him. These two aren't just colleagues who've shared screen time, they're real friends who truly enjoy each other's company. Freeman's respect for Caine began long before they even worked together, but it was their time filming Going in Style that solidified their bond. Watching them joke, improvise, and play off each other in interviews made it clear that their friendship runs deeper than what is portrayed on screen.
My thing is, this is my turn or not? Okay, what has...
Freeman has repeatedly praised Caine's incredible command of nuance and timing. In an interview alongside Freeman, Caine, and Alan Arkin, viewers could immediately sense the ease between them. They finished each other's thoughts, laughed genuinely, and demonstrated the kind of synergy built over years of shared craft. That relaxed outlook isn't a facetite, reflects an easy chemistry that only comes from real friendship.
Get them out on set, which one's shiniest, which one's bigger?
No, cool.
Beyond the fun and humor, there's a quiet reverence in the way Freeman speaks about Caine's career. He admired how Caine could steal a scene, not by dominating it, but by understanding exactly when to hold back. That kind of control restraint paired with precision is something Freeman deeply values, especially as an actor who believes in letting the moment breathe. Their friendship may make headlines, but it's their mutual respect as craftsmen that makes it enduring.
That you only now do scripts if they're impossible to refuse.
Off camera, they swap jokes, tease each other, and show a bond that's rare in Hollywood. It's clear they enjoy each other's company. No cameras, no scripts, just two professionals sharing laughs. It wasn't just a working relationship, it was a creative partnership grounded in mutual admiration. For Freeman, Caine represents an approach to acting that is smart, understated, and emotionally honest. That's the kind of presence Freeman strives for in his work. Finally, let's move on to number 1, which is Sidney Poitier.
Inspired you growing up to want to become an actor?
Cindy Poitier.
When Morgan Freeman talks about Sidney Poitier, there's a different kind of feeling to his words. It's not just admiration, it's gratitude. Poitier wasn't simply a talented actor in Freeman's eyes. He was a trailblazer who made it possible for Black actors like Freeman to dream bigger. Long before Freeman became a household name, he was watching Poitier pave the way with dignity, courage, and class. That example mattered deeply. It gave Freeman something solid to aspire to, not just fame, but integrity in his craft and presence.
Well represented. And then Sidney came.
What set Poitier apart from Freeman wasn't just the barrier-breaking roles he immersed himself in, it was how he carried himself while doing it. At a time when Hollywood largely offered roles steeped in stereotypes, especially to Black actors, Poitier remained unmoved. He chose parts that portrayed black men as strong, intelligent, and deeply human. That quiet resistance, wrapped in grace and poise, shaped the way Freeman saw acting not just as entertainment, but as a strong force. Poitier's journey started humbly. He was born in Miami in 1927, but raised in the Bahamas, where life was simple. At 15, Poitier moved to the US and taught himself to read, sharpened his diction, and eventually joined the American Negro Theater, all before appearing on Broadway and then making his landmark film debut in No Way Out in 1950. His rise was quiet, yet unstoppable. Morgan Freeman, entering Hollywood decades later, benefited directly from Poitier's groundbreaking impact. In one interview, a journalist asked Freeman about his greatest inspiration, and he named Sidney Poitier without hesitation. Poitier wasn't just a role model, he was the standard by which Freeman measured his own artistic and moral integrity.
He was my mentor long before he knew.
The Defiant Ones marked Poitier's first Academy Award nomination, alongside Tony Curtis. It was a film about two men chained together. Critics saw it as a turning point in Hollywood's portrayal of race. Then came Lilies of the Field in 1963, when Poitier became the first black actor to win Best Actor at the Oscars. Just being on the same stage as Poitier meant something to Freeman and everyone watching. It signaled change. Freeman has often emphasized how Poitier refused roles that felt subservient or stereotypical. In The Heat of the Night, which was a 1967 movie, Poitier demanded that the iconic slapping scene where Detective Tibbs strikes back against a racist attacker remain in the film. Even though it wasn't in the script, that moment became a seismic shift not just in cinema, but in how black masculinity was seen and felt on screen. What Freeman admires deeply is Poitier's unwavering integrity. He didn't play characters that bent to stereotype, he played characters who embodied strength, intellect, and humanity. The roles in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and to Sir with Love didn't just entertain, they challenged audiences to elevate their understanding of race, respect, and equality. Their connection ran beyond admiration. As Poitier's star faded into legend, Freeman rose, and he never forgot who paved the way. When Poitier passed in 2022, Freeman joined many others in paying tribute. He wrote, "Sidney was my inspiration, my guiding light. It was more than a kind word, it was an acknowledgement of a lifetime's worth of influence." Part of Freeman's reverence comes from seeing how Poitier carried the weight of representation with grace. As Poitier once reflected in his memoir, The Measure of a Man, he never took on roles that didn't align with his parents' values. He treated acting not just as performance, but as legacy. And Freeman, seeing that, learned that quality and dignity matter more than quantity of screen time.
I've had one bright light, Sidney Poitier.
Freeman's admiration feels personal and enduring because Poitier was never just a career figurehead, he was someone Freeman could relate to, someone who embodied what it meant to lift others by refusing to be diminished. In a segment from the documentary Sidney, which was produced by Oprah Winfrey, various stars including Freeman, Denzel Washington, and Oprah appear, each sharing how Poitier shaped their lives.
You have been an inspiration to my entire life, maybe to all of.
Poitier's impact also extended beyond acting. He directed films like Stir Crazy, served as the Bahamian ambassador to Japan and UNESCO, and even received the Presidential Medal of Freedom and honorary Oscar. That breadth of accomplishment taught Freeman that artistry and advocacy could and perhaps should go hand in hand. Morgan grew up in an era when black actors were limited to sidekick or stereotype roles. Poitier changed that narrative. Freeman came along and benefited from that change, almost as if Poitier had cleared a lane wide enough for Freeman and others to step into. Freeman's gratitude and admiration are woven into every project he's taken since. He's stood on Poitier's shoulders, and he's made sure to acknowledge it every step of the way. At the age of 87, Morgan Freeman has worked with actors of all kinds and built a career that most actors could only dream of. But when he speaks about the actors he admires most, it's not just about talent, it's about connection, character, and the way they made him feel seen and inspired. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.